Well, hello. Hello again to those of you who watched the prelude lecture from week 0. For those of you who haven't done that yet, I would really encourage you to go back, take the time to listen to it, or at least to read the manuscript that you'll find in the module for week 0. There's a lot of really important information in there that will help you kind of understand a big picture context. But this is week 1, and so the course begins. I'm Arthur Kelly, and I have the joy, and I mean that quite seriously, of guiding you through this course, although I prefer to think of it, both for myself and I hope for you, as a journey. I'm eager to get to know you better and to engage your head and your heart in the exploration of spiritual and ministerial formation. The purpose of this week and week O is to provide you with what I think of as the essential, even foundational nature of the course, where it's headed, how we get there, my role, your role, and key vocabulary that will be used throughout the semester. I trust you will forgive me for this very long opening lecture. This is a complicated course in many respects, and an important one. And I want to be as thoughtful about what's going on as possible, so that you can be as thoughtful in your responses as possible. But first, let me introduce myself to you. You'll also find a document on week 1 module that is my response to the reflection I'm asking you to do that week, or this week as well. That sounded really confusing, but it'll get clearer. Let me first of all introduce me to you. My name is Arthur Kelly. You may call me Mr. Kelly, you may call me Dr. Kelly, or Professor Kelly. This is the first semester of my 5th year of teaching as an adjunct professor at Anderson University, after living and teaching in Portland, Oregon at Anderson University's sister school, Warner Pacific. I'm a retired but still active learner and teacher, stretching back. I've been a teacher for a long time. I began my career as an English teacher, teaching high school English in 1966 in the little town of Red Bluff, California. Since then, in one way or another, I've been a teacher. I've been a teacher of English, communications, literature, Bible, the humanities, and now spiritual formation. I'm a transplanted Californian who has lived more years in Oregon and Indiana than in California. I graduated from Warner Pacific in 1965 and worked there as a teacher and administrator for 23 years after some graduate work, beginning my career at Warner in 1972. At Warner Pacific, I served as an English professor, Bible professor, humanities professor, dean of students, and provost. But through all of that, I was a teacher and teaching. I left Warner Pacific in 1995, moved to Anderson, and worked for 15 years in the publishing and editorial work for Warner Press, the denominational publishing house for the Church of God, and then for Church of God Ministries, the headquarters of the Church of God, which is the denomination that I'm sure you know sponsors AU. I retired from there a few years ago when my wife and I returned to Portland, Oregon, and to teaching again at Warner Pacific in both the traditional and non-traditional programs. A few years ago, we replanted ourselves in Anderson, and this, as I said, is the beginning of my first semester of my 5th year of teaching Introduction to Speech and Spiritual Formation. I know, an odd combination. I'm married to Judy and have been since 1964. We have 3 children, 3 adult grandchildren, and now 5 great-grandchildren. I'm a reader, a poet, or aspire to be a poet. I'm an ordained minister in the Church of God, Anderson. I love talking about important stuff, which is one of the major reasons I keep teaching. I love teaching. I love learning. I never feel quite as at home as I do when I'm in the classroom with students who also love learning. And I hope that means you. I think the lines between teaching and learning are really blurred. So I look forward to learning what you have to teach me in the same sense that I hope you look forward to what I have to teach you. I recently completed a Strengths Finders survey, which informed me that my signature themes are input. That means I'm inquisitive. Some would say nosy. Empathy. That means I'm intuitive and a little emotional. Connectedness. I'm a bridge builder. I love people and connecting people and talking with people. And arranger. That means I'm a flexible problem solver, which may be to your benefit as the semester goes on. And intellection. How about that? Sounds fancy. Means I like to think about things. I find these themes to do a pretty good job of summing me up. Beyond those, I think of myself, and this fits in with my connectedness strength as a relational teacher. I do not make distinctions between academic learning and life. You will be asked to consider both in this class, and I will formulate these lectures and my responses to you in both ways. I genuinely look forward to spending time with you, and I hope facilitating your pilgrimage wherever it may take you. Before I turn to some other items for this beginning, let me say this loudly and clearly. Study the syllabus. It's posted on Canvas, as is the calendar. The syllabus is the official statement of the course, its purpose and activities, as well as lots of information about your responsibilities and the schedule of assignments and due dates and points and values and all that kind of stuff. Because this is an online course and contact with me is not as easy as if we were meeting in person, I've worked hard to make it as clear as possible. Make sure that you pay attention to the calendar. Calendar is really the course. And you'll see that it's set up in a particular way, module by module, that I hope will be helpful to you. By the way, before I get any further, let me say that the best way to get in touch with me and get a quick response, which is what you would want, is to text me. Use my phone number. I've posted it on the syllabus. State your name, because it'll take me a while, and include 51010E. That tells me who you are and why you're writing to me. That way I know who's writing and why. I really encourage you not to hesitate to ask for clarification about assignments or readings. Do not hesitate if you find yourself in a bind and are struggling to meet deadlines. Get in touch with me and let's see what we can work out. It's more important to me that you seriously do the work than just meet deadlines. By the way, it is really important that you stay with the course, moving from week to week on schedule, and not to get too far ahead. There are reasons for the chronology of this course. Each week is planned to address the topics for that week. and you will find at the beginning of each model something titled Week X Plan, Week 1, Week 2 Plan. This will guide you each week through the work for that week. Yet it is connected, yes, it's connected to the syllabus, and of course there is more information on the syllabus, but the weekly plan will carry you through the course. This course is divided into 3 major sections. In the first one, which we are beginning this week, we'll just be getting settled, exploring the terrain, working out the schedule, getting acquainted. In the second week, we begin exploring human agency, the human condition, human development. It will not be an in-depth study. My plan is to teach about our development as human beings engaged in discovering who we are and how we live in the face of what some call the human condition or predicament, which is the context for any understanding of spiritual formation or ministerial formation. We will also focus on spiritual formation, which I've already begun to define in week 0. It's also called faith formation in section 1. By that I mean how we come to believe what we believe, what is meant by faith formation, and how we learn to live and grow faithful to our beliefs. Finally, we focus on pastoral and communal formation, the second and third divisions of this course. In the second section, we'll focus on your ongoing formation as pastors and ministers, which is similar to, but not the same as your personal formational journey. They're connected, they're related, they're mutually reinforcing, but there are some distinctions between the two that we need to explore. And because you're enrolled in a school of theology and Christian ministry, we also will focus on the role and responsibilities of leaders in the life of the church and ask, what is that role and what is that responsibility and how are those lived out in the communal corporate life of the church? That will be the final division of our work together, and in many ways a bringing together of all that we have explored and considered during these 15 weeks. How do we do this? Well, if you're familiar with online learning, you already have an idea of how this works. But here we go. Each week we'll begin with a lecture or presentation that addresses the particular focus for the week as outlined on the calendar. This lecture presentation will be recorded as a video like this one, or in some instances will be delivered as a narrated PowerPoint. Nearly every week will include reading and a response to that reading. I'll explain that reading and response as part of the lecture and, when appropriate, direct you to the prompts for that response that will be available on Canvas. My lectures will always be posted to Canvas no later than Saturday night of the preceding week. So you have plenty of heads up to read and review and respond, the 3 R's. Sometimes there will be an additional video that I think is particularly effective in its treatment or response to the matter under study. What do you do? Well, obviously, follow the directions, watch the lecture, and so forth. Then you will respond to the challenge, I call them reflection prompts, by and not later than midnight on day 3 of the week. That's Wednesdays. You and I will engage with your classmates with a follow-up response to your classmates' initial responses by and no later than midnight on day 7 of the week. You should post at least 2 substantive. If you saw the manuscript, you'd see that was bold and underlined. 2 substantive follow-up responses to me or your classmates. I want you to know that I look forward to what you have to say, that your thinking, reflection, and experience matter to me. and that I will engage what you say. I may agree. I may encourage you to think more deeply. I may draw connections between what you all are saying or point out different perspectives. I may even at times push back and ask you to consider another perspective, all in the name of learning and growing and forming. Now, what do I mean by substantive, and why am I making such a big deal out of that? Your initial response to the prompt should be around 200 to 250 words. Your secondary responses to your classmates or to me should be around 100 to 150 words. But substantive means much more than word count. Substantive post must advance the conversation. Comments such as good point or high five or I agree are not substantive responses unless they are followed by additional insights, provide relevant illustrations, or raise additional questions, or say, I agree with you because. They should speak thoughtfully with the prompts. Language used may be conversational, but should be professional. Use appropriate spelling, grammar, and punctuation. In other words, it's graduate level college work, and you need to pay attention to that. I do want to say something upfront and central to this course. We are focusing on Christian spiritual formation. By that, I mean the course focuses on deepening of one's relationship with the Christian Trinitarian God. Note that qualifier, all-important qualifier, Christian. Spiritual formation is not unique to Christianity. All religions address formation. If you were to do so, you'd discover online articles on Buddhist spiritual formation, or Islamic spiritual formation, or Hindu, or even, you might be surprised by that, agnostic or atheistic formation. In this particular context, Anderson University and its mission, we will focus on Christian formation and the history, understandings, and teachings of Jesus and his church. Discipleship is sometimes used synonymously with spiritual formation. I think it's more specific and directly related to this course. Discipleship is a focus on the maturing of one's faith in the context of the particular beliefs and values of a Christian faith community. It often focuses on the individual and his or her relationship with God and beliefs about God. But in Christian formation in particular, there's no private faith. It is personal and communal. Well, I've reached the end of what I intended for today, except to call your attention to your assignment for this week. This is an invitation to begin a practice that is absolutely essential in the world of spiritual formation and in this course. That is personal reflection. Much of this course is simply and not so simply an invitation to do what we seldom take the opportunity to do, reflect on life. More is said about the essential practice in the narrated PowerPoint on spiritual reflection that accompanies this lecture. And you should watch that before you submit your first entries. The reflection assignment will not only initiate you to this vital practice, but it will also have the effect of having us all get better acquainted. For the most part, I don't know you. Some of you may know each other or know of each other. Some may know no one in the class. We need to get acquainted. So once you've finished listening to me, go to the PowerPoint, the narrated PowerPoint on reflection, and watch that. And then go to the assignment titled, Let Me Introduce Me to You. Follow the directions, post your responses, and we have begun. By the way, you can also find posted there my own response to the assignment. Enough. My voice is getting hoarse. Your ears are probably getting tired. More than enough, you're probably thinking. I'm excited to begin the journey. I hope you are as well. Blessings and one of my favorite benedictions, traveling mercies. See you soon.